Welcome everyone to the Sdg Ambition, setting ambitious goals to transform business. I hope you've been enjoying the Leaders Summit to date. This session is brought to you by the UN Global Compact Network in the UK, and we're really happy to have you with us. Next slide, please. We are part of the world's largest responsible business initiative, connecting UK companies and other organizations in a global movement dedicated to driving sustainable growth. I trust you will have heard that a few times now as part of the Leaders Summit. At the UK network, we have a really full program, over 100 events per year, organized in 3 work streams: business and human rights, climate action, and global goals. And we support our member companies, over 600 of them, in addressing the challenges that they face. And one of our favorite programs has been the Sdg Ambition Accelerator. With the deadline, and that's what we're going to be talking about primarily today. With the deadline of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development fast approaching, urgent and ambitious action is needed to achieve the global goals. And that's why the Global Compact initiated this accelerator program. It aims to challenge and support participating companies, Global Compact participating companies, to set ambitious corporate targets and accelerate the integration of the 17 SDGs into their core business management. The Sdg Ambition Accelerator supports companies to move beyond incremental progress and step up to transformative change, unlocking business value, building business resilience, and enabling long-term growth. And that's really what the global goals are all about: transformation to the future that we want. Though 81% of companies say they are taking action to advance the SDGs, less than a third are actually aligning their business strategies and operations in practice. So the accelerator is aiming to close that gap and ground companies in the objectives of Sdg Ambition to set more ambitious goals in line with the Sdg Ambition Benchmarks, which is another really great piece of work that the Global Compact has done. The 10 Sdg Ambition Benchmarks include 100% of employees across the organization earning a living wage, science-based targets for carbon emissions, zero waste to landfill, just to name a few of the benchmarks. And these are really drawing a line in the sand. These are just a few of the SDG targets that we can look at really objectively and say, by 2030, with 9 years to bring about that change, there really is no excuse for any company to not take on that ambition and say, we're going to achieve that SDG in our company by 2030. And I think there's a real strength of this benchmarks program and the Sdg Ambition, that it's pretty stark, I think, in establishing those expectations on companies. The accelerator runs over 6 months through 3 modules. Participants learn how to strategically prioritize actions that will accelerate their contributions to the 2030 agenda. They learn about setting targets aligned with absolute benchmarks, as I just said. It might seem aspirational today, but we have 9 years to get there, and we need to get started on those journeys. And the third piece is to hardwire SDG-related business goals and outcomes into core business practices and management to materially accelerate progress. We've had here in the UK 20 organizations taking part in the first round of the program, and the second round is recruiting now. So if you like what you're hearing today, we certainly look forward to working with you in the next round. I'm joined with representatives from 3 of the companies that have been participating, and I'm delighted to have you with us. Kirsty Green-Mann, from Head of Corporate Responsibility at Burgess Salmon, a law firm. Victoria Hughes, the Business Responsibility Director at Vinci Facilities. And lastly, Andy York, the Human Rights Manager at Pilgrims Group Limited. Now, to get us started, it would be great if you could all just introduce yourselves, tell us little bit about your companies, because I suspect outside the UK, they're not household names. What do you do in your company? What does your company do? Why did you sign up to SDG Ambition? And maybe a little bit about your current priorities in doing so. Now, I'm going to maybe just start with the order you are in my screen. So I'll start with Victoria, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, Victoria Hughes, thank you for the introduction. I work for Vinci Facilities, which is a subdivision of a larger organisation, Vinci Construction UK, here in the United Kingdom, which is part of the global Vinci organisation, which hopefully many people on the call will be aware of. Our business here in the UK operates across a range of sectors, from education to healthcare to retail, to also government premises. And we do a range of new build and retrofit activities and keep people's real estate compliant and as much as possible environmentally conscious. So quite a wide range of activities. In terms of why we decided to join the SDG programme, I suppose like many organisations, we've been familiar with the SDGs for many years, and we were guilty, I suppose, same as many, of cherry picking a few of them within our reporting practices and try to shoehorn our existing initiatives within the SDGs. It quickly became apparent with the 2030 deadline approaching that we needed that transformational change, Steve, as you identified in your introduction there, and that we need to have a change in our business practices, the way we manage our business, to contribute to the SDGs themselves, as opposed to it being the other way around. So it was really wanting this transformational change to deliver along the people, the prosperity and the planet objectives, which you have there in the compact. We have a range of goals, which we've already been looking at prior to us joining the Accelerator programme, but also changed our mindset a little bit since being part of the Accelerator programme. And those are mainly around the living wage and the gender equality benchmarks, and also the ones around circular economy and zero waste to landfill. That last one in particular was selected because we see there's quite a lot of knock-on effects of contributing to that in terms of modern slavery, biodiversity, carbon emissions, resource efficiency. So quite wide-ranging, and it's the Accelerator programme has been very insightful for us so far.
Muted. Thanks, Victoria. Kirsty, over to you.
Hi, thanks, Steve. So yes, I'm Kirsty Greenman, working for Burgess Salmon, and Burgess Salmon is a large commercial independent UK law firm. We've got some leading expertise in the legal sector with a wide range of clients that span large multinational private companies, as well as a lot of work in the public sector. And Burgess Salmon's sort of got a long history of responsible business and striving to do the right things. And yes, we became sort of heavily engaged with the UN SDGs. I think the UN Sustainable Development Goals, they're a fantastic framework for sort of shaping what needs to be done. And also because they're accessible and it's about a call to action, they very much bring people along. And the sort of Accelerator programme, it was really in terms of, okay, a bit like Victoria, we'd done the mapping and done some prioritisation, but it's really that next level of challenge and really, you know, where you can have the largest impact positively. And also I think there's a real opportunity within the sustainable development sort of agenda. There's a real, you know, for us all to win, you know, society, environment, the planet, but also there's commercial opportunity there. And we also found through engaging with the Sustainable Development Goals, it really made us understand it was what we did internally, how we should be looking to collaborate externally, which organisations we could really see mutual interest, and importantly, how it ties in with our sort of core business offering around legal counsel. So I think, again, the SDGs and the Accelerator programme, they're a fantastic challenge to make sure you're really addressing what's at the core of your business. And that's a real opportunity as well. Oh, and in terms of the benchmarks that sort of we're looking at the moment, so gender balance is really important, and we've also got our ambition for the 1.5 degree pathway for science-based targets. And then we've also been looking at how to improve our sustainable procurement, which is the 100% renewable and sustainable sourcing.
Thanks, Kirsty. Yeah, I'd like to circle back to that question of commercial benefit, because that's such an important driver in everything that we do. Andy, tell us about Pilgrims.
Yep, so I'm Andy, Human Rights Manager for Pilgrims UK. We're one of the UK's largest food and farming businesses, the leading producer in the world of higher welfare pork. We produce a wide range of products for our customers. We employ around 6,000 people across 14 UK sites. And then we also manage our own vertically integrated supply chain and support over 1,000 British farmers. I guess we signed up to the Sdg Ambition programme to help us tackle some of the bigger and the more challenging aspects that face businesses in meeting the SDG targets, such as around zero hunger, reducing the impact on water. As a business, we've recently announced our 2030 strategy, which is fully aligned to the SDGs. And our key areas of work here around reaching net zero by 2030, 100% recyclable packaging, zero waste to landfill, and ensuring deforestation in our animal feed supply chain. And we also think it'll help us really strengthen our commitments in human rights as well, and bring it all together under the SDG umbrella, and something which is easy for a commercial team to recognise as being important, as well as sustainability.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you all. It's great that we have such very diverse companies all finding value from the SDGs framework and from the accelerator. So my first question, what have been your biggest successes in the sustainability journey that your companies have been on so far? And I suppose, what do you anticipate being the biggest challenges ahead, having set quite ambitious targets aligned with the benchmarks? Which ones have you got the most worried, I suppose? Shall we start with you again, Victoria?
Of course, yeah. So I was expecting you to go to Kirsty then. So yes, success-wise, I think, as my colleagues here on the call, I think we started the sustainability journey quite a long time ago. So we haven't got that business case issue of sustainability is good for business case. We got over that quite a long time ago, which I was quite pleased to say. I think the main successes we've had in our business is the integration of sustainability within our existing business practices. So wherever we try to do, it's like sustainability is part of everybody's role. It's not part of the central business responsibility teams. It's everyone has a part to play. And I think that really came to the fore with the publication of the Good Life Goals, which follow the SDGs. But that individual action has a real positive part to play, that everyone has a role. So we have this constant communication in our business, all the way down from corporate reporting, which we do, all the way down to individual personal performance records. So individuals have targets which are seamlessly aligned to our bigger issues. That's really been our main success of the business. I think in terms of challenges, it's that the availability of really good, robust data. I think the accelerator program, your advice you gave us early on was that you need to have a sustainability professional and somebody who understands data. And that advice was key for me. I think we've always challenged ourselves to try and get good, robust data. But I think when you really dig down into the detail of obtaining those benchmarks, which we did in the accelerator program, it really brought it to the fore that you need good quality, robust data. It needs to be as accurate as possible, using the right conversion factors, the right metrics, that they are consistent across your business. Everyone's using the same terminology. So you can pull that together and show that actually the action you're taking on the SDGs is actually making meaningful impact to your business in the right way. So I think that's the next challenge for us, really, to consolidate all that data in a meaningful way and in a dashboard that shows we're making progress, and to show some of those complexity of those interactions in sustainability, which we may never have seen before.
has that data collection process has it required significant investment, or is it something that's just more, you could add it on to stuff that you were collecting anyway? How big a challenge does that itself present?
It is a big challenge, and one of the elements we covered in the Accelerator program was a systems opportunity reflection program, one of the modules we did, and that was really insightful for me, where we actually looked at what our current data collection is, what systems currently collect that, what's missing, what could we get, could we borrow it, do we have to buy it? And that exercise was really insightful for myself and my colleague on the programme, because it clearly showed that there were some gaps in consistency, and I think we will have to invest in some more sophisticated monitoring and measurement techniques. But likewise, we're also hopeful that Power BI will be able to offer some of the functionality we need. So we're just trying to work out at the moment, where do we need to invest and where do we think we can just adapt and extend what we already have.
Thanks, Victoria. Now to Kirsty, your success story and your challenges.
So I think the success has really got to be down to the culture and the attitude and the understanding across the firm. Similar to Victoria, I haven't really had to do a lot about the business case. It's like, we get it and it's the right thing to do, so why wouldn't we do it? There's been a lot of success as well around bringing more logic and structure and focus within the sort of responsible business sustainability agenda. And I think the success is actually the tangible action that we've delivered, and the feedback I get from stakeholders and the reputation the firm has. And that's really achieved by everyone kind of gets involved, and there's this desire to want to do the right thing and to operate to really high standards, which has all been fantastic. There are, however, challenges, absolutely. I think key challenges allude to data as well, having good performance indicators which really demonstrate the impact, and then being able to set targets around those performance indicators, and that's sort of covered within the Ambition programme as well. But you kind of have to have the data and the understanding to be able to set the targets. There's also something around system change, and it's also the context and the system you're working in. It's almost like you're only as strong as the weakest link. So, for example, in terms of 100% renewable and sustainable sourcing, that will depend on, and the same when it comes to zero waste to landfill, where it's what sort of services are available in terms of that waste management. So, yeah, there are absolutely some challenges. And also, an understanding with the Accelerator programme is really the importance of taking the time to bring everyone on board, and the different disciplines and everyone's really busy. So yeah, sort of getting that time and that real sort of quality of intellectual thought, there's a challenge there too.
Thanks, Kirsty. Andy.
I think one of our biggest successes has been managing to drive this into the day-to-day part of the business. Our exec team has sponsored it from the start. What we've managed to also do is that we've split the work out through the SDGs into the business through 5 core cross-functional teams, all of which are sponsored by an exec member, and importantly, they're KPI'd and incentivized against it, so it makes that part of their bonus. That always gives a good incentive for people to do what they say, and it's not just the sustainability people trying to drag away. So the Accelerator programs really helped us guide us through that process, and as a result, we've managed to have targets and KPIs that cover all of the SDGs, and we contribute in some way. I think on the challenges side, for us as a food business, it's always around price and staying competitive. A lot of the work we do from an external to an external, or our external customer audience, is selling the benefits of why we're doing some of the things that we're doing, and they do have a cost implication, and that does cost more, but it's the right thing to do, because of our commitments that will cost as a business. And also, what we've tried to do is always look at anything that we're doing in the sustainability to, is there a commercial aspect that can go in our favour to back that up? So it's really trying to link the commercial side to the normal fluffy side of sustainability, I would say.
And when you say commercial side, are we talking marketing your products as being sustainable, or cost savings because you're using less energy, or you have less waste to pay to dispose of, or all of
a bit of both, I would say. So all of the above. Ideally, we'd like to start looking at some consumer way of facing, talking to customers around what we're doing, and, you know, why should I buy high welfare pork, for example? You know, it's the lowest soya content in Europe in our feed. That doesn't always come over well to a customer or to a consumer at the end. So it's trying to keep our customers on board and fit our aspirations in with their aspirations as well, because they will have their own ways of working towards the SDGs, we would hope.
Right. They may well care about saving the Amazon, but they're not connecting the dots all the way back to
the supply, the food for the animals, or the price difference in putting something else in the feed instead of soy, for example. So why should I pay more for it? What's the benefit?
Okay, thank you all. Our next question is getting a little more, well, you're not bound to talk about the accelerator, but has there been a resource, a method, a tool that you have found particularly useful in your sustainability journey? So I will go to Kirsty first this time to mix things up.
Yeah, I think that the program has a tremendous amount of information, and it's really well-grounded research. So there's, you know, great information that can be referenced and to deepen understanding. And for me, it has been a challenge because, you know, it's kind of, right, we've got the SDGs, we understand that, we've done the mapping, you know, we've got a nice responsible business agenda that people have bought into, where the benchmarks are different. And there has been a lot of challenge in you know, thinking, you know, what if, and it has forced more of that kind of systems thinking approach. So that has been really good. And also, you know, it as a program, it's for some of that time out where you're not being bombarded with the emails, so you can think more strategically and from different aspects, and also as well connecting with different organisations and getting those tidbits, and also some of that sort of shared support that sustainability professionals need. So yeah, that's all been really good, and you know, it's a fantastic toolkit to take away. And yeah, I'm looking forward to taking that wider in the business to help shape our strategy going forward.
Thanks, Kirsty. Andy, do you have a favourite?
I think for us, it's a similar line, really. It's the case studies that you can really unpick and then think, how does this apply in my business? Or just talking to people from different industries, just having that space to maybe then spark something else in the business. We've shared a lot of the case studies in the packs internally, and it's surprising what that can then spark people to think of different ways of working, or different ways to do things that they maybe wouldn't have thought about before. So I think it's that cross-industry thing. There's always learnings you can share. That's certainly been the most valuable for us.
Now, we've got 3 very different companies on the call today, and I know it's a very diverse group in the accelerator. Has it been a big effort to extrapolate these case studies to make them relevant to your business, or has that been working? Or maybe to your point about going across sectors, that there's innovation opportunities in taking insights from one sector and bringing it into yours.
Yeah, I think there's the business, or the type of business, is less important. I think we see it more in the examples of, right, this was the problem, this is what we did about it, and this is how it's come out at the other end. It just makes you apply those things to your business instinctively. So I think that's really powerful.
Thanks, Andy. Victoria, what's your favorite resource?
Yeah,
Accelerator?
great. I'd agree with everything Andy and Kirsty have said. You know, the way the Accelerator program builds from a foundation level of knowledge, and the difficulty and the integrity of what you're looking at builds throughout you go through the whole of the modules. I think for me, there were a few standout tools which I thought were really great. I think right up front, it was one called Principled Prioritization, where we looked at all of the benchmarks and had a look and identified the positives and the negatives of these things in the business. Could it have a reputational damage? Could it be, you know, a commercial benefit for us if we change the way we think about these SDGs? And I think that goes back to what I said right at the beginning. It's great to overlap what you're currently doing, but changing your business mindset to this transformational change, so you change your business to work towards the SDGs. That really helped kind of put that in context for me, and that's what I wanted to get out of the program. Then I think moving forward in module 2, where we looked at the goals and the sub-goals, to understand exactly, to pin down what do we want to achieve, how can we contribute, what's realistic, what's aspirational, what do we need to do to get from A to B to C. So you have this real path of understanding, okay, what can I do now? What's realistic I can do now to get me in 2030 to that target, which are identified in the benchmarks. Then I think the last one is around the metrics identification and tagging. One of the modules to understand, it's great having all of this, it's great having this ambition, but then how are we going to measure it? So again, it's back to the data, and that's why I think the Accelerator program is really well thought out, as Kirsty said, how it builds upon module on module. So by the time you've completed the Accelerator program, you have all of the things within your toolkit to make this business case for sustainability within your organisation and drive it down so you get all of your key stakeholders and potentially shareholders bought into this process.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to see that you're getting lots of value from the program. Let's start with Andy now for this final round, and just maybe your top piece of advice for companies that are embarking on a similar journey to yours, looking to set ambitious goals related to the SDGs.
I think my one piece of advice is, don't be afraid to think big. You'd be surprised when you paint a big picture, the ideas that can come from within the business and that can help you achieve those goals. So don't be afraid to think big, and don't be afraid to share it out of your normal circle.
Thanks, Andy. Victoria.
Hi, yes, yeah, agree with Andy there. It was definitely, don't be afraid to get stuck in. I think starting with a clear vision as to what you want to achieve, I think for me is quite key, which the tools do help you achieve that. So you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, what your priorities are, and I think, who do you need to help you in the journey? As we say, it's not the business responsibilities team to do this. Who within your business has the expertise, the data, the right people to make this work for you? And it's important to build that network with those key stakeholders. So going forward, it is embedded within common business practice. And then I think that overall pitch to your big CEO is not scary, because you've already convinced all those people that this is the way we need to operate our business. So I think be clear in your priorities, understand what you need, and get those people by your side when you go forward to potentially pitch that bigger picture, particularly if you need investment.
Thanks, Victoria. Kirsty.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely make a start and get stuck in. And I think the piece of advice I would give looking at the benchmarks is, don't pick something that's too easy because you're doing lots of stuff already, and don't pick something that's like completely feels very irrelevant to what your business. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in the middle, and take a collaborative approach. Do that initial work around thinking, who are the stakeholders? Who do I need to identify within this? Because that's going to help take it forward. So yeah, collaboration, planning, and pick a winner in the middle ground somewhere.
Thank you. Now, from the things that you've said, I've got a few follow-on questions that, if you don't mind, I'd like to explore for a few minutes. And so one of these is just, Victoria, you talked about the CEO pitch, and it sounded like it came in later in the process. So I'm interested in, the whole idea of integration and how do we get companies integrating that idea that they're going to be a sustainable company, and almost even just the the decision to participate in the accelerator. Did that, probably not something that warrants the CEO's attention, but was that in itself, just to get the green light to join this, I suppose there needed to be an openness already in the company to go down.
Yeah, definitely. I think quite fortunate with, similar to the other companies, we've been on this journey, as I say, for over 10 years now. So my MD in particular is very bought into this. So, it's like, Vicky, if you think you need to do it, I'm happy for you to join into the accelerator program. That wasn't an issue. I think for an organization such as ourselves, it's within my division, within my sphere of influence, it's quite easy to make change, but some of those system level changes is not within my sphere of influence. It's in HR, it's some of those central services divisions. It may be that the large CEO of our conglomerate needs to make those decisions. So it's like, it's understanding what we can do within my entity, but actually it's so much more. So the decision to buy into sustainability is made, but I think going forward and making that real systems transformational change to affect your business, potentially, as Andy said, there might be some negative impacts such as costs, like the real living wage would be an example. Are we competitive in the marketplace? And pushing forward with some of the larger investments, which could affect the larger company, is something that we need to be clear on when we go and pitch that at a high level.
Kirsty, did you have any issues with your managing partner? Did he get involved in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Both our senior partner and our managing partner very much lead from the front, and they absolutely get this agenda. And the senior partner actually forwarded this on to me and said, "We are participating, aren't we?" So yeah, tremendous buy-in. And yeah, in terms of the sort of firm strategy review, sustainability is very much thought of part of that. And I think there's a real understanding, the world is changing. Addressing climate change isn't about doing a nice thing, it's kind of like, this is what the planet needs. But as I said earlier, there's also that commercial opportunity, and Burgess Salmon's been very forward thinking. They do a lot of work in the renewable energy sector, and we've got a really strong net zero legal expertise across the different elements of transports, agriculture and things. So there really is a tremendous understanding what this agenda is about. So no, I'm very, very lucky and fortunate in that regard, a huge amount of buy-in.
I could see there would be value in walking the talk. And if you want to attract clients that are sustainable, it's best that you have a compelling story for yourself. Yeah. Andy, have you had any? Oh, sorry, Kirsty.
Sorry, yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say, and I think I've been with Burgess Salmon about 2.5 years now, and there is this sort of long history of doing the right thing, and it is very much an authentic part of the culture, and the support that we get from colleagues, and it is just phenomenal. Really do go above and beyond. So yeah, sort of walking that talk has been easier to do. So yeah, but looking forward with the benchmarks to taking it to that next level in terms of how do we influence more for that systems change.
Mm-hmm. Andy, any challenges internally?
Not really. I think once you have it set in your head around, and you can illustrate it around something as simple as the SDGs, there's not really an argument for any, why wouldn't you do it? I think it's almost the opposite of it's that people struggle to see, well, why haven't we done this before in some cases. So it's really, it simplifies it enough that, you know, you don't have your board switching off when you're talking to them about sustainability for a change, because it's something they can recognize and realize that we can contribute to. So if you've done that piece of work, then I didn't find we didn't have any pushback internally at all. Even some of the accountants were actually okay.
Are they having investors whispering in their ear to say, how's your ESG? And we'd like to see more in this space. And so this gives you a ready answer to address that, or is not so much?
A little bit. I mean, we're privately owned, but our parent company is 20% stock exchange in the US. So there is that element coming through, but from the American side, I think it's a very different element, and certainly not as collaborative and open as we would be in the UK. I think that's just a historic thing. So I think there's certainly no shareholder pressure in the UK on us, but I think in a small way it's starting to come in the US.
Yeah, good. Victoria, do you have that?
I think the pull is more for us from our customers, actually. So obviously, you think construction and facilities management is quite a traditional industry. How can we change? And it's been recognised now with the recent publications, Construction Playbook, the PPN notice for social value in the UK, and a range of plethora of other things coming out, that actually we need this whole value chain, the whole value chain of the process to change how we manage buildings. And so the customers are now specifying things in a different way. They are looking at SDGs, they're looking at what we're doing to reduce our direct carbon footprint, what our net zero ambitions are, what we're looking for embodied carbon, how we're contributing to societal value, how we're looking for longevity in terms of biodiversity. So this is now really being brought in, and it's that real pull from our customers. And that's fantastic for us, because we've always pulled it from our supply chain, because we do very much in collaboration with our supply chain. But now we seem to have that more of a pull from our customers. It's pulling that whole value chain together. So it's a very level playing field when organisations such as ourselves are starting to tender for work. Everybody's tendering against those same benchmarks. This is what we need to achieve. And then that will fundamentally improve the whole of the sector. And then collectively we can contribute more towards the SDGs. So that's a fantastic positive shift change, which I'm seeing in our sector.
Oh, fantastic. I have to say, it's music to my ears to hear that there's such a strong commercial imperative across three, again, such different companies in different sectors. I always felt it should be enough that it's the right thing to do, but it sure makes it easier to argue to do the right thing when there's such strong and compelling business arguments as well. We're out of time. So thanks very much, Andy, Kirsty, Victoria. It's been a really great speaking with you. Thank you to our audience for your attention. Let me remind you that applications for the second round of the Sdg Ambition Accelerator are open now. So if you'd like to participate in the next cohort, do get in touch. Also, the UK network is hosting a Global Goals and, sorry, I got the name wrong, a Responsible Business and SDG Summit on July 20th and 21st. It's going to be 2 days of SDG themed sessions addressing a wide range of topics linked into integrating the SDGs into your business. And with that, I'll say thank you and have a great day.